Shefali ji, one thing that is becoming increasingly clear from all of this is that the media and much of the entrenched vested interests in India, they're not just biased against Hindus, but also actively working against them in a very systematic way. And in all this, there is also the issue of human rights of Hindus, something that you have very articulated your voice very loudly on. And that is completely forgotten. How Hindus are being killed, how Hindus human rights are being undermined across several parts of the country. uh, can you tell us more about this? How is this being done, and systematically being done?
You know, I just searched on Google, and even you can try it. I just searched with the phrase Hindus killed by Muslims. That's all. Okay. The first page that opens up says massacre of Muslims in India. My search title is Hindus killed by Muslims. The first page that Google throws up is a list of so-called imaginary Muslim massacres in India. But if you go back and if you look into the history, ever since there was Islamic invasion in India, who are the people who have been killed in thousands and hundreds of thousands? There has been genocide after genocide. It has been the Hindus, it's been the Buddhists, it's been the Jains, it's been all the Indic religions. And for the sake of convenience, I will call all of them, whoever is not an Abrahamic, as a Hindu. That is how the Indian constitution also defines them. So if you look at India's history is written in the blood of Hindu victims. Unfortunately, this is the part that has been completely whitewashed. And so you have idiot historians like Romila Thapar, who basically even whitewashes things like the destruction of the Somnath temple, saying that yes, the temple was destroyed, but it was not really a anti-Hindu way. They just wanted money, and that's why they destroyed it. So if Mahmud of Ghazni only wanted money, was it Mahmud of Ghazni? Yes, Ghazni only, no? Ghazni or Ghori, whoever. I keep getting confused between them.
Yeah.
So when Mahmud of Ghazni, he looted Somnath, if he was only after the money, why did he destroy the temple? Why did he destroy the Shivling? Why did he destroy and take thousands of Hindu women and children as slaves? Why were the Hindu Kush mountains called Hindu Kush, which means the murderer of Hindus? That's because thousands and thousands of Hindu women, children, and men were taken as slaves and taken to Afghanistan by foot, and many of them perished there. That's why the mountains are called Hindu Kush, meaning the killer of Hindus. Hindus have suffered at the hands of the Islamic invaders. Hindus in Goa have suffered, my ancestors have suffered at the hands of the Jesuit missionaries and the Portuguese rulers. Hindus have suffered during partition. Hindus have suffered in Kerala under the Mopla Muslims, as the Mopla rebellion they call it, whereas it was full-scale massacre of Hindus. Hindus have been killed during the 1947 partition. Hindus have been killed and driven out in Kashmir in the 90s in the Kashmiri Hindu genocide. Hindus, thousands and hundreds and thousands of them have been displaced. The women have been raped, children have been killed, they have been thrown out of their homeland in what we call today's Bangladesh, and they have become refugees in India. And everywhere the aggressor has been the same and the victim has been the same, but nobody names the victim. But there is an effort to create a narrative saying that the aggressor is the victim. I don't understand this. This is almost like saying in Israel you will have narratives calling Hitler as the victim and the Jews as the oppressors. That is what is happening in India. And I don't understand why this is so, that despite having so much of proof, even Muslim historians have documented carefully the massacres of Hindus, because they said it with a lot of pride, and the destruction of temples because they considered it their religious duty. I do a lot of work on temple architecture. I give a lot of talks. I write about a lot on temple architecture. And everywhere I go, no matter what the state is, and I see the temples and I see broken murtis, and it's always the same. Okay. So you'll find a very beautiful female murti, and the breasts will be hacked off, the face will be, the nose will be hacked off. Everywhere. In just 1 year, I went to Gujarat, I went to Rajasthan, I went to Karnataka, I went to Andhra, I went to Tamil Nadu, I went to Maharashtra. That's 6 states. I saw temples in all these states. In all these states, I found temples which were destroyed and murtis destroyed like this. And when I asked the guides there what happened, they would euphemistically tell me that foreign invaders came here. So I would ask them, who were the foreign invaders? Don't they have names? Were they Greeks? Were they Europeans? Who were they? So then they would very reluctantly tell me that they were Islamic invaders. And there was one particular trail that I did, like from Rajasthan to Gujarat to Maharashtra. It's sad. It's so sad that I can't help but laugh, you know. It's so tragic. So all the way to Tamil Nadu, all the way to Srirangam, there's a whole trail of broken temples, all caused by one man, Malik Kafur, who was the commander in chief of Aladdin Khilji. So when he did his southern Indian campaign, that's what he did. He basically destroyed every single temple that was in his path, broke the murtis, looted everything that was worth looting, burnt everything that could be burnt down, destroyed everything that could be destroyed, killed, raped, burnt, enslaved, did every possible torture to the Hindus that they encountered along the way. And still, we want to portray Aladdin Khilji as some kind of dewy-eyed lover boy in our films and make him sing and dance. I really don't understand what kind of masochism that has been enshrined among the Hindus that makes us look at our oppressors with such dewy-eyed innocence. Are we victims of Stockholm syndrome so much? Years before the term Stockholm syndrome was even coined. That's the only thing I can think of. It's the same thing in Goa, you know. Even just today, I heard a young Goan Hindu girl, whose ancestors probably had to run away with just the clothes on their back to keep their dharma. And she is who she is because of that choice that they made. I heard her say today that, okay, I know that the Portuguese destroyed temples in Goa. I know that the Portuguese broke the murtis. I know that they built churches where the temples used to be. But that's okay. They made Goa beautiful. And I'm like, you know, you owe your existence to the struggle that your ancestors had made, that they had left everything, but they didn't leave their dharma. And you are who you are today because of the sacrifice that they made. And still, is it for this that they made the sacrifice? So this is something, the Hindu genocide is a reality. And unfortunately, the only museum today in India that documents Hindu genocide in all its entirety, right from the Muslim invasions to the Kashmiri Hindu genocide, is in Pune. And it started by a man who was not Indian by birth, he was French. It's Francois Gautier's Museum of Hindu Genocide. And every time I go there, because it's in Pune, I go there quite often. Every time I go there, I feel like crying. I feel depressed for days after that. And you know what the saddest part is? The genocide is not over. It's continuing. And it's continuing in little, you know, they, like, as they say, they bleed you by 1,000 cuts. It's continuing in 1,000 different places in India even today. You don't hear those cases because there are individuals and their names are not even mentioned. A few years ago, there was a guy called Prashant Pujari. He was just a flower seller in Karnataka in a place called Mudbidri. And I have been to that stall. I went and met his mother also. So it's literally a very, very 1 foot by 4 foot kind of flower stall where he used to sit with his father. And he was also a Gaurakshak, as in he worked with the local VHP unit and he helped in protecting cows. And there's a lot of cow meat mafia in that region, in Uttar Kannada region of Karnataka. So because of that, there were some radicalized Muslims who were against him. So one day when he was sitting at his flower shop with his father, they came and in front of all the people, and his flower shop is right in the middle of the market, okay? They chopped him up using choppers and swords in front of all the people, and they left him bleeding there, and he died in front of his father. He was the only son of his parents. His father was so unnerved by this incident and so shocked that his own health went downhill and he passed away in a year. So when I went to meet his mother, she lives alone with her daughter. Daughter's husband works somewhere else. So it's just these two women staying in that house, and there's a big photo of Prashant Pujari on the walls. And he's a young innocent man, okay. And it was not like he was killing anyone or beating anyone or whatever. He only was protecting cows, and there is no furor, there is no media outrage, there are no debates, there are no stories in international newspapers. In fact, one of the journalists who calls himself a journalist, let's call him a fake news trader if you so wish, he even remarked that what is so great, why should the media cover Prashant Pujari's murder? He was just a VHP activist, so that's collateral damage. So VHP activist hona means it's okay if you die. If you want to protect cows, which is what your religion tells you, that means that you can be chopped in the middle of a market by a gang of radicalized Muslims, and nothing. No, there should be no furor. They don't even mention the names. There's another case I'll tell you about. This case you might remember. It's about Ramalingam. He was a catering contractor in Tamil Nadu. And he once encountered some Muslim preachers who had come to his village to do conversions. And he stopped them and he argued with them very gently, very sweetly by saying that, do we come to ask you to take and accept our religion? Why do you do that? And somebody shot a video and they shared it on social media and it became majorly viral. Suddenly he became a hero for a lot of Hindus, that is. But what happened after that? 2 days later, he was attacked brutally and he was killed again with a chopper and a sword, which is a typical way of killing, Islamic killing, I would say. And his wrists were chopped off and he bled to death. But after that, what were the headlines? They didn't even give him the dignity of saying his name. The headlines were catering contractor chopped to death. Why was he killed? Was he killed because the food that he served in a wedding was not bad? You don't even think that as a victim of a brutal communal crime, his name also merits a mention. Why is there no mention of Ramalingam as a person? He has a family, he has children. Who's going to talk about them? But at the same time, if an Islamic terrorist is neutralized by Indian army, it's the same media who will write nice sob stories about how he was so innocent, how he liked math as a child, how he was a poor headmaster's son, how he was called Einstein in his KG class, and how he turned to terrorism because somebody made fun of him when he was 3 years old or something like that. You just Google this. They've done it for Buranwani. They've done it for that Adil guy. They've done it for everybody. They've done it for Ajmal Kasab. I remember having read a story in an Indian newspaper that said that Kasab took to Islamic terrorism because he was not bought new clothes for Eid by his father when he was, 6 or 7 years old. This is an Indian newspaper writing this story about Ajmal Kasab, the guy who shot at innocent people with the AK-47 in Bombay, the guy who went on a rampage at Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus and who killed so many people without even determining what they were or who they were. This is the kind of media that we have, which completely ignores the stories of Hindu pain, of Hindu genocide, of Hindu deaths. How many stories should I give you? And instead of that, if there is a Muslim victim and if the perpetrators are Hindus, the reason may be anything. It can be a property dispute, it can be a dispute for a berth in a train, it can be anything. But they will keep hammering those names. So that's why we remember a Pehlu, we remember a Akhlaq, we remember a Junaid, and now we remember a Abdul Samad, the old man who allegedly they did this fake story about him having made to say Jai Shri Ram. Their names they will keep talking about, but Hindu victims they will not even have the decency to name, because Hindus don't have human rights, because Hindus are children of lesser God.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. धन्यवाद. Namaskar.